Welcome to Devize, a new tool for running Monte Carlo simulations, performing parameter optimization, and conducting sensitivity analyses. In this brief video, we'll explore each of these features using Devize's intuitive workflow interface. First, let's take a look at how simple it is to run a Monte Carlo simulation in Devize. Begin by entering the name of a factor here. Then choose its distribution and enter its parameter values. A preview image here helps to confirm that you've entered the values correctly. Click Add another input and repeat these steps until you've specified all of the process inputs. If you're not sure of an input's distribution, Devize can determine it for you. From Distribution, choose Use Data to decide. Then click Open File. Open the CSV file containing the data. Select the column you want to analyze and click Recommend Distribution. When you accept a distribution, estimated parameters will be entered automatically. Once you've specified all of your process inputs, enter the response here. You can copy and paste the model equation from Minitab or use the equation editor to type it in manually. If you have specification limits, enter them now. As you add inputs and specify output equations, you'll see graphic representations of each model here. A quick glance will confirm that you've set up your simulation as intended, which is especially helpful when dealing with multiple or complex models. Now click Simulate to run the simulation. If you like, you can add a new name and description to your simulation. Then click View Results. Results of the initial simulation are given in graphical and statistical form, with additional in-depth details available here. If you've run simulations for multiple outputs, you can tab through the individual results here. If you find you've made an error in setting up the simulation, just click View and Edit Model to correct any mistakes and rerun the analysis. Based on the results of the simulation, Devize will recommend an appropriate follow-up action here in the Next Steps section. If the simulation was run without specification limits, Devize will suggest you add them as a next step. If you had included spec limits and process capability is below accepted levels, Devize suggests proceeding with parameter optimization. If PPK is above acceptable levels, you might want to follow through with a sensitivity analysis. Context-sensitive help is available if you need additional guidance in determining the best course of action in your circumstance. Now let's look at how Devize handles parameter optimization. First, define your goal: to target a particular mean value, to minimize percent out of spec, or to maximize PPK. Then define the search range. Use your process knowledge to specify the range of possible settings for a particular input. This way, Devize won't suggest factor settings that are impossible to achieve. For example, an oven's thermostat may not be able to be set below 100 degrees or above 500 degrees. If an input is out of your control, for example, outdoor temperature, check Noise. After entering all of the inputs, click Optimize Parameters. Devize identifies optimized input settings and shows you the improvement you can expect to see if you use the new settings. Now let's take a look at Devize's sensitivity analysis. A sensitivity analysis helps you determine when it's worth the time and money required to reduce the variability of an input, and when it isn't. For example, you can see that if you were able to reduce the standard deviation of this input, you would also reduce the percent out of spec substantially. By contrast, this input is essentially a flat line, indicating that changes in the variation of the input will have little effect on process capability, for better or worse. Change any of the input settings you like and choose Simulate to rerun the simulation with these new parameters. As with parameter optimization, Devize shows you the improvement you can expect to see if you use the new settings. The Devize interface is intuitive and easy to use. Here are a few tips for managing projects successfully. When you log into Devize, you'll see a list of all of your projects. Check here to delete a project or rename it. You can share a project with other Devize subscribers in your organization and give them viewing, editing, or even ownership privileges. Global collaboration is made easier by Devize's built-in interface translation. Simply select your preferred language here. A Devize project can contain many simulations. Check here to delete obsolete simulations or to edit the default simulation name, description, or model, or to create a copy of a simulation. Devize also makes it easy to compare and share your results. Suppose you want to include two simulations in a PowerPoint presentation to illustrate the effects of proposed process changes. Just select the simulations and click Compare. Graphs and statistics are presented side by side and include details of the inputs used for each simulation. Click Export to send the output directly to PowerPoint. Let's walk through a sample project to illustrate a common workflow in Devize. Suppose your company produces liquid laundry detergent. A new product in development displays excessive variation in viscosity. Product that is too thick or too thin will be scrapped, so you want to improve process capability before the detergent goes into full-scale production. You determine that there are two significant factors affecting viscosity: mixing time and temperature. Using Minitab statistical software, you produce the following equation to describe this relationship. You've been asked to assess baseline performance of the process, identify better process settings if possible, and report your findings. First, start a new project and give it a name. Now select the project and create a new simulation. Give it a descriptive name as well. In the Input section, specify the distribution and parameters for both of the process inputs. First, enter time and its parameter values. Click Add another input, then enter temperature and its parameter values. In the Output section, enter the response variable. Enter the model equation, and then enter the upper and lower spec limits. Click Simulate to run the simulation. The initial simulation indicates that viscosity will be out of spec for more than 18% of the detergent produced, an unacceptable amount. As a next step, Devize suggests you try parameter optimization to improve your process. First, define your objective. In this case, you want to minimize the percent out of spec for viscosity. Now define search ranges for the two inputs. You know that the detergent must be mixed for at least 2 minutes for emulsification to take place, and that production timing demands that it not be mixed for more than 8 minutes. A minimum temperature setting of 3 is required to ensure proper mixing, while the detergent breaks down if the setting is above 13. Click Optimize Parameters to find the ideal settings. By using these new settings for time and temperature, you can expect percent out of spec to fall substantially. Click Compare and select both simulations. Click Export and send the before and after output to PowerPoint to complete your presentation. For more information on Devize, go to support.minitab.com/Devize.